It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So it's,
Craig Price is the man.
I knew it. Craig, shut up. It's Reality Check with Craig Price. This week, Phil Gerbyshak is back to discuss his new business around social selling with LinkedIn, Vengreso. Welcome to the podcast. Before we begin, a quick reminder that you still have a few weeks to nominate Reality Check with Craig Price, which is what you're listening to right now, for Best Culture Podcast at the Podcast Awards. Just sign up and nominate the show once, and you're done. Unless the show makes it to the finals, and then there's more voting. But go to podcastawards.com right now, sign us up, nominate us. Hopefully we'll talk to you in August. Go. Now, have you ever partnered with another person to create a business? Oh, how about 6 others? Well, that's what my past guest and friend of the show, Phil Gerbyshak, has done, and he's here today to talk about it. The company is called Vengreso, and they specialize in social selling training. So I wanted to get Phil on here to explain what that is and how we can be better at it. I am neither social nor very good at selling, so this seems like a nightmare scenario for me, but that's why he's here, to talk me off the ledge and give us some insight. So log in, update that 10-year-old LinkedIn pic profile, and listen to us talk social selling with Phil Gerbyshak. Now, every time I talk to you or see you or interact with you, you're doing something new and exciting and different. Usually it's something different. So it's I don't know how you meet all these folks. You're just so outgoing and you have connections out the wazoo. So how did Vengreso come together? Because this is a new conglomeration of like 6 or 7 folks. How did those 6 or 7 folks come together?
So 7 people is the kind of the magic number. 7 co-founders with Vengreso, and I don't know, 5-6 months ago, Mario Martinez Jr., who's our CEO, our founder, he had this idea that we should get together. And actually, he interviewed me on his podcast. And before we even got on the podcast, he goes, "Hey, are you interested in talking about an opportunity?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "Great. So we'll talk after the podcast." So we did the podcast, and then he goes, "Okay, well, I'm not going to tell you much, but if you're interested in, maybe working together, I'll send you an NDA." Now, I hate NDAs. I hate them. I think they're dumb. I mean, I don't get it, but whatever. Okay, I'll send an NDA. And I think they're dumb because often, people don't share anything private anyway, right? People say, "Oh, don't disclose." Hey, Craig, don't disclose that I have a lot of LinkedIn connections. Like, shut up. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah, don't disclose public information.
Right, yeah. So whatever, but anyway, so I signed it, and it worked. It was fine, and we had a great conversation. And then we talked a little more, and talked a little more, and talked a little more, and then we firmed it up. I mean, Mario got a fantastic attorney to draw up an operating agreement. Had a great vision for what this would look like. We've got different lines of business. Every co-founder has their own swim lane of business that they're responsible for, and we can all cross sell and cross promote each other. So it's it's good for us, and it's really good for clients too, because it scales up. So whereas before, as good of a trainer as I might be, I cannot train 65,000 financial advisors at one time or 65,000 insurance agents at one time. And I don't mean put them in the room and I can't talk for an hour. It's not what I mean, but I mean actual training, actually getting things done. So now we have 7 people that are co-founders. Some of the team had employees, so we have the employees. We have contractors, and then of course, then we can go and we can train other people on how to train, so that we can have a systematized, consistent feel for training. So now, if a big company says, we'd love to get all of our people trained, we can go from proof of concept to pilot to full-fledged training much more rapidly and really provide a consistent look and feel, because it's 7 people that have been doing this for a very long time. I've been on LinkedIn since 2004, and I can honestly say, Craig, that I've been coaching or training people to use it to actually build their business, to build revenue since 2008.
Yeah,
so,
and
many of my co-founders are the same.
And I've been there. I've seen you constantly on LinkedIn. You've actually kind of visited the offices. You've been partnered with them for a long time, maybe not officially, but at least as an outsider who has really got in depth with LinkedIn. So this is what Vengreso is doing is kind of teaching people how what they call quote unquote social selling, which is a term I've heard, but it's not quite something that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, so that certainly is part of it. Social selling is part of it. We view it as digital transformation because it really has 4 components that are really important for business. The first one being the alignment of marketing and sales. A lot of companies, sales and marketing, they can't even agree what a lead is. So you have to get those aligned. You have to get them rowing in the same direction and really thinking about the same goals in the same words. It's really important. So that's alignment. And then, from there, then it's to mindset, right? You have to have the right mindset, the giver's mindset, that you're collaborative, that just because you're smart doesn't mean you're the only person in the room. Not to mention, that there's plenty of pie for everybody. So you have to share. In fact, you'll see I'm good about sharing my competitors' stuff. I think that, there's a lot of smart people out there to learn from. So that's a mindset thing. Then it's about the skill set, right? How do you actually do this? And it's not just sales, Craig, though that is a big component of it. It's also social recruiting. How do you recruit the right salespeople? It's content marketing. How do you write the right content? It's personal branding. How do you look online so that you actually, so that people actually are interested once you click on it, writing in the right language. It's, masterminding. It's online courses and offline courses. So it really is the entire digital ecosystem around that. And then last but not least, but probably the thing that people actually do first, which drives me crazy, and that is they go for the tool set first. Ooh, LinkedIn. I need to be on LinkedIn. Well, yeah, that's probably true. I mean, you can safely say that because LinkedIn is a behemoth. Yes, you probably need to be on LinkedIn. But if you start with the tool set, if you start with LinkedIn and work the other way, it's much, much more difficult because it's other things. Social video. In fact, LinkedIn just gave me social video yesterday that I can put a video that I record natively right in the LinkedIn platform that I can just upload it and it'll be there. So it's things like that. And one of our partners is OneMob, ONEMOB. OneMob allows you to do social video for sales and recruiting and not so much marketing, mostly sales. Well, that's different. Sales before had to shoehorn in a marketing solution to try to work for sales. And frankly, that doesn't work. Not to mention, salespeople don't do things the same way or the same scale that marketing does. So it's important that they have separate tools that they can use them with and then report up so that there's a centralized dashboard and then realign and, redo everything.
And before we get deep into social selling, because that's why I wanted you to come on here, because I wanted to really talk about, especially the LinkedIn platform.
Sure.
The 7 of you, when you guys got together, how are each one chosen? Because I know they all have their different skill sets, but was there a common theme, or was there a specific person who was kind of the linchpin for the whole situation? Because 7 folks from all over the place. I know most of them are in Florida, but not all of them. How did they come together to decide, hey, we want to join forces? Because it's almost like War of the Planet of the Apes. Apes together strong, apes separate weak. So how did you guys figure out if we join forces, we'll do better?
So that was really Mario's idea, and we all bought into that. I mean, I certainly see that in, if we, scale back a little bit, if you rewind a couple weeks, couple months, my biggest challenge is if I need a graphic designer, I can either hire a freelancer and then I'm beholden to their schedule. I have to hope like heck that they have free time. In fact, I'm working on a website right now for a client. Thankfully, the person that I work with is available, but I don't have a dedicated resource. Well, partnering up with 6 other people, now we have a dedicated resource that can do certain things. And not everything, we're not trying to be everything to everybody, but a dedicated resource now we can say, okay, well, we need graphics for, 7 people. And our graphic designer can go and scale out and do consistently, 30 or 40 graphics. Right away, right out of the chute, like my podcast, Conversations with Phil, she's doing podcast graphics for me for the next 3 months. Well, I couldn't afford to do that myself because each graphic would cost something because I would trickle out. I would never get far enough ahead that I could actually do anything that would scale. So it just made a lot of sense, Craig. I mean, partnering up, together we're stronger, absolutely. And together, for clients, we're stronger as well because, again, now it's consistency. And I think it makes a lot of sense, but you certainly have to have a high level of trust and you have to have a high level of believe in each other and what each other can do and be willing to trust the other person that they're going to work in the best interest of you, which is really of your company.
Well, the company is called Vengreso, and one of the main things you guys do, it's not the only thing, and it's certainly not the majority, but it's a good chunk of what you do is LinkedIn training. And I want to talk to you about that because LinkedIn has been changing and evolving over the last couple of years. It's become more, I want to say, Facebook for business versus just being its own special platform. So what changes have you seen that have been beneficial? Obviously, the video that you are special privileged to, because the rest of us mere mortals don't have it yet. But video is one thing, which I'm not sure everybody's going to get into, but a lot of people are going to enjoy and work at. But what changes have you seen that have been beneficial, and what things have people not been using that they should?
So the biggest thing that's beneficial is LinkedIn this year in 2017 actually went through and completely redid their interface. Their interface was reconfigured from the ground up, and they haven't had this big of an overhaul for a very, very long time. And that is very beneficial to the casual user. Now, if you look, many people are complaining about LinkedIn, about the changes. Oh my goodness, it did this or it did that. But I really see from the training that I do, from the people that I actually talk to, once they get over the hump of change bad, once they get over that, it's actually much easier. Every tab is very clearly marked. Everything loads up well. You get things that work well. And it's a consistent experience on the mobile. So if you know how to use LinkedIn on your phone, you know how to use LinkedIn in the browser. If you know how to use LinkedIn in the browser, you know how to use it on your phone. So that is probably the biggest change, and the biggest thing that people see is, oh my goodness, it looks different than it did 6 months ago. Now, if we go deeper and we talk about, okay, so what are those changes? So first of all, the search function, while yes, admittedly, you do need to get Sales Navigator in order to take full advantage of search, because frankly, if you're using LinkedIn to do business, you should be paying LinkedIn to earn your business. I mean, free tools, they're not going to be around much longer. So I really encourage folks, use Navigator. But the search feature, even inside the free version now, is much clearer. It's much cleaner. It shows you how to build a little Boolean search using and or so that you can combine a couple of terms so you can get a little bit more complex search. And a lot of people, that was available before, but it was hidden. I don't know many people that hadn't been trained by me or someone like me that knew that you could use and or operators or not as operators to actually kind of pare down your search. And now it's obvious. Now LinkedIn makes it clear how you can do that. LinkedIn also, over the past, 18 months or 2 years that people aren't using is they're not using the media feature nearly enough. It isn't just LinkedIn video, which, like I said, it just came out yesterday for me. I'm not talking about posting it on your status line and hoping that people find you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about on your profile, when people do a Google search, if they look for Craig Price, if they look for Phil Gerbyshak, and they find me, there should be some multimedia. So a video of what I do, how I do it, a little bit about my energy and my philosophy so people can get to know me more. Should be a white paper that adds value to the organization. Could be a spot where, I actually direct people to my latest podcast as well. Could be, my blog, anything like that. But I don't see people taking advantage of that. And then the other thing that they're not, and I'll stop here, and that is taking a look at how the first few characters display on mobile or on your desktop, taking a look at that, and then using the space to write an audience-focused message, something that is what's in it for the reader, in your summary, in each job that you've done, and in each thing that you do, and inviting them to go deeper with you. I don't see people doing that. And while that hasn't been a big change on the platform, it's a change that a lot of people are starting to get better at writing that. So it's becoming more beneficial, and people are really focused on that, what's in it for the other person. And the more that happens, I think the better the platform LinkedIn is, and the more valuable of a platform it is for all of us.
And I think a lot of people use LinkedIn as a digital resume, and like resumes, they don't get updated unless they're in need. So if you have a job and you're happy with it and you're not looking, you don't really update your resume. It's usually there's rumblings or there's something going on and you may lose your job, or you've changed positions and you're looking for a job, then you update it. And LinkedIn is not that. You need to update it on a regular basis.
Yeah, not only kind of the resume portion, the static portion, but also the interactive portion. Also, you need to update your status. You should be writing articles. You should be commenting on other people's posts. LinkedIn has a social selling index that really has 4 components that are really, really helpful in seeing how you're doing. So it's, your personal brand. It's how are you finding the right prospects? Are you engaging with those right prospects? Are you sharing content that's valuable? Really kind of 4 components there. And you can, if you search for LinkedIn Social Selling Index, you can read more about that. But those 4 components really are central to the success on LinkedIn. So you should really learn to understand those 4 components and watch your score, not for an ego thing, not to say, yay, I'm 89 or, oh, boo, I'm 13. But no, to see how your actions are actually changing the score and then connecting that to real business. How is that working for you to close business? Is that helping you? Is connecting with the right people helping your business? Now, if you integrate that into your daily work, if you integrate prospecting on LinkedIn and relationship building on LinkedIn and inviting people to connect with you online on LinkedIn into your sales process, into your marketing process, into your job seeking process, whatever you're doing, if you integrate that, well, certainly your score is going to go up and your results are going to increase. And results are really what we're after. So the score is often just an indicator of how well you're doing. It's not meant to compare and contrast to other people, but really just a scoreboard for yourself to see how you're doing and improve over time.
It's a metric so you can actually start judging effectiveness, not versus popularity. Like Clout had a situation where it's just it was a weird metric that showed how popular or how many people you were connected to, and it didn't mean anything because you could have a huge high score and still not have any influence, have any connections, have any real business from it.
That's right. Yeah, and these are the 4 things really that are central, again, to your social selling journey. So, these are definitely good indicators of how well you're doing your job, how well you are selling, how well you are actually using the platform to do parts of your business. And really, if you think about LinkedIn as an accelerant to speed things up along your sales journey, it really helps you.
Is LinkedIn still, for a while, it was just get connections as many as possible, and it was the lion, the LinkedIn
Open Networker.
And I've noticed personally that didn't work for me. I, in fact, had to get rid of people. I know problems doing that. I'm one of the people that just, I will cut someone loose like nothing. You are dead to me. Boom. But I feel that I've noticed more people have kind of contracted their connections list versus expand them because they realize it's just clutter.
Yeah, well, it is clutter. If you're not doing it strategically. I mean, if you don't have a strategy and you're just grabbing people, anybody to connect to your network, it can absolutely be clutter. But here's the thing. I mean, still adding people is a bad thing. You don't have to be active with everybody just because they're part of your network. So part of your strategy should be first connect to those people that are influential in your space so you can learn from them. Second, you should connect to other peers, people that you can learn from, people that can share information that are peers kind of at the same level as you, but not necessarily in the exact same job as you. So first one, like I said, thought leaders. Second one being peers. Then third, really kind of those target you might with, people that you might see there. Next would be referral sources, people that you could give referrals to, that you could earn referrals from. And then last but not least is friends, family, and alumni. those are kind of the 5 dimensions, if you will, of my networking. Now, friends is kind of the murkiest one. And if you don't want all the clutter, then less friends is certainly fine. If you can't make time to actually get to know what the heck someone does, just having them in your network isn't going to help you, and it is absolutely going to be no. So find ways to get in front of them. Find ways, if you see that they could be valuable to you or you could be valuable to them, engage with them. Comment on their stuff. Share their posts. Send them a private message. Set up a time to meet with them. I've got right in my profile, 15with5withphil.com. People have meetings with me if they have questions, if they'd like to meet with me. And I try my best to have at least a few of those a week. It's almost like a virtual coffee. You can ask me anything if you have questions, or we can hang out and get you. That's fine too.
And I've also noticed that the amount of spam has somewhat increased. So I have connections. I've known them for years, but they'll send me private messages that are form letters that aren't form letters. You know what I mean? I mean, it's quite obvious that it's supposed to be customized to me, yet they know me, so it has nothing to do with what I'm doing, especially with the podcasting. It's like, do you have a podcast? It's like, you know me. You know I have a podcast. You just sent me a form letter to every podcaster on your list. So it's like, so how do you connect without, especially if you have a huge amount of connections, how can you connect individually without, getting overwhelmed with so many people and without being so informal?
That gets to the whole Sales Navigator piece. That's really the whole purpose behind Sales Navigator, so that you can do a search. Here's my 100 people that have this quality about them. So, for instance, Craig, if I have a new podcast and search for podcasters, chances are sending them a message, "Are you a podcaster?" is not going to be a big hit. So I need to really think about, okay, what is the message for those 100 podcasters? So perhaps it's a turnkey podcast product like Doug Sandler has that helps people, have some, get their podcast from kind of zero to Jump Street and gets them out there. Okay, that might be relevant. Or maybe it's, hey, Greg, are you struggling with editing shows? Now, if you're not, that's fine, and I wouldn't know that. I mean, most people, that isn't in their profile. Podcast host who sucks at editing. I mean, that should be in my profile, actually, because that's really true about me. But that's not there. So you use Sales Navigator and then use a tool like Text Expander so that, as you find these 100 people, you can send them a very similar message. And yes, I get, Craig, you call it kind of spam. But there's, you connected. Hopefully, you've been able to see something that gives you a glimmer of hope, so you can narrow down that 100, maybe down to 50. But really, your goal has got to be as much as possible to actually connect with the person so you know what the heck they need. Because at scale, email is really hard because your need might not be my need, because it's psychographic more than it is demographic. It means it's head, and it's special to you more than it is because you have these characteristics, therefore you are interested in this. So that's a change, and that is harder. And now, there's automated intelligence out there that can sift through these things, sentiment analysis, and do a deeper dive, suck in your whole Twitter feed and spit back some suggestions. Still not perfect, but it's the closest thing we can do to getting scale at a reasonable amount.
Yeah, instead of sales, they should also add deficiencies. So this, search for deficiencies and say these people need help with something. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah, well, pass it on. You know them. You know them better than I do.
Yep.
And so, one last time before I let you go, there's a lot of things that people have been doing lately that seem to be. They think it's social selling, but it seems to be more irritating. Like with video. Video is supposed to be this big, huge, popular thing, and people. I still don't understand why people sit there and watch 30 minutes of video or 10 minutes of video when they can read something at the same amount in less time. But they're putting video stills on there, so you see the still image, and you can read it. It's like a meme. It has words. You can read the whole thing, and then you hit play, and it does change. And it's kind of like all of a sudden, video is so important now that they're putting still images in video with no sound, with no nothing to promote. Is there some things that you've noticed that you hope that LinkedIn does not follow, especially with the new video?
Yeah, well, that certainly is one of them. I mean, I think sound should have to be voice, no music on LinkedIn. I'd like to, because frankly, LinkedIn is kind of that news style of here's the news today, almost like Twitter has tried to do, except Twitter tries to be entertainment news. So I'd love to see LinkedIn focus on being the business news center. Hope that LinkedIn gives video to some of the journalists who do financial services reporting, that do stock reporting, that do those sorts of things, so that we can see those things. And I hope that they give it to, do video right. And that's that means interesting locations, interesting conversations, and not just video for the sake of video. So we'll see what happens. I know that this, like I said earlier, LinkedIn rolled out literally yesterday. So for those of you listening, it could be a week or a month ago, not long ago at all. And if you don't have it, don't worry about it. They only gave it to 500 people. So we're just testing it out and seeing what's there. It may never go broad. But so I think that is a good test for LinkedIn. The other thing that I think is if I were to advise LinkedIn, it would be to find ways to get your executives on the platform. Find ways to encourage companies to get their executives on the platform so that they can share their thoughts. Because, people are looking to their leaders for vision. They're looking to their leaders to, chart a course for them. And hopefully, leaders can share some of those insights, can push that so that it actually is a valuable platform, so that if they're trying to attract either venture capital, they're trying to attract angel investors, they're trying to, increase their stock price, they're trying to, recruit more people, I'll be able to then get a feel for the executives in that organization, because frankly, the speed of the team is the speed of the leader. So if the leader sucks, I'm not going to want to work there. So give me access to those people. Also let that be scheduled. So 2:00 on Friday, we have an interview with the CEO of Schmuckatelli and Associates talking about whatever. I think that would be great as well. And then don't worry so much about getting 10 people on camera. Don't try to be blab. Just focus on one person, 2 people in a video tops, and let that be the platform for storytelling, for engagement, and for connection on LinkedIn.
Well, the company is Vengreso. I hope it's a huge success. You've got a couple seconds here to pitch it one last time. Why should we go to you guys instead of just muddling through LinkedIn on our own?
Sure. So, well, I think, if you go to Vengreso.com, what you're going to see is that we really are trying to add value to the digital ecosystem, unlike anybody else. We have 3 different podcasts. Mario has a podcast, Bernie Porges has a podcast, and I have a podcast. So we have, 3 podcasts that we post most weeks. We also have great articles. And because we attack it from a bunch of different ways, because we focus on the alignment, mindset, skill set, and tool set, because we focus on all of those, not just one of them. If LinkedIn decides tomorrow that, Microsoft bought them and now they're going to sell them to another company and they're just going to shut them down, God forbid, I really hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, sales is not going to change. Recruiting is not going to change drastically because you have the other tools. That would change the tool set, but that is not going to change the fact that sales and marketing need to be aligned. That's not going to change the fact that you still need to have the right mindset, that you need to understand the right skills to be a sharer instead of a taker online. And then we'll find another tool that does that. So I think that's the big difference, not to mention, it's 7 people. You're sure to find somebody that you resonate with, some article that's useful for you. So please do check us out at Vengreso.com. Sign up for one of our newsletters. We've got some free stuff there. You can sign up for instant. So as soon as we publish a blog post, you'll get it. As soon as we publish a podcast, you'll get it. Or sign up for weekly and just get kind of a weekly digest of the good stuff we're working on. And we'd love to hear from you. It's Vengreso.com, Vengreso.com.
Well, it's always great talking to you, Phil. I will see you in September and October because I will be there on a weekend where it turns to the fall. So I'm looking forward to talking to you and seeing you in Tampa.
Awesome. I can't wait, Craig. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to chat with your folks.
That's the show. Can't wait to get to Tampa this September and work with Phil at the PMI Tampa Symposium. If you have questions, comments, or guest suggestions, please email Craig at speakercraigprice.com. You can also go to realitycheckpodcast.com to sign up for the newsletter, subscribe to the podcast, or download the app. See you next week.